Peace, J2S community. I am so excited to bring you all season 2 of our journey interviews, Falling in Love with You. So, this season, we are focused completely on self love. Today, I have the goddess Jasmine sharing space with me. Jasmine, thank you so much for agreeing to be a part of this healing campaign. Before we dive deep into our self love talk, can you introduce yourself to the viewers by sharing who you are and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you first and foremost for having me. I am truly honored to be here. So, with all that said, I am Jasmeen Wilson. I am the founder of House of Chiron, and House of Chiron was basically founded upon me navigating my own trials and my own healing journey. So, coming from a background, I am born and raised in Austin, Texas, and I still live here. So they call me a unicorn now because, so many different transplants from different places are now here. But Austin has always had this, keep Austin weird vibe. So there's just no one way of going about being in this city. Like all the weirdness is accepted here for the most part. So having that as my background, my mother is from also like the outskirts, the little country towns from here. So she was born here in Austin, but family is in like Bastrop, Smithville. My dad is from Brooklyn, New York. So I have roots going all the way back to Bermuda and the Dominican Republic because of that. And so being able to navigate my ancestral history and my heritage and then learning more about that, adding that into this healing journey and getting back to the literal roots of things is how House of Chiron was born. So I got back into astrology at the time. I was in school getting my bachelor's in psychology, and I just started seeing a lot of similarities in the patterns and in the text of psychology and in the things that are associated with astrology, and realizing that a lot of our patterns and things of that nature can be found within that. So I said, this is what's helping me navigate my healing journey. I'm recognizing my patterns. I'm also learning what I need to do in order to heal certain things, and how I can put certain things into actual action and kind of push myself into that healing direction. And I said, well, maybe somebody else is going to need this, so House of Chiron was based on that. And so one more thing, because I can get long-winded, I'm a Gemini.
Take
um,
your time.
one more thing about House of Chiron. I'm going to talk about the name a little bit. So Chiron is spelled Chiron, and Chiron is an asteroid that is widely known in astrology, and it is known as the wounded healer. And so Chiron in Greek mythology, and also in Egyptian mythology. So in Greek, he's known as, Chiron, but in Egyptian, he's known as Anubis. And so when you look at Chiron, Chiron was the wounded healer. It was through his journey of healing others. He was a great healer. He was all wise. He was a centaur, but he was different. He was awkward. And so he had those feelings of guilt and shame, and he could not heal himself, but he could heal others. And the only way he could actually heal himself was through healing others. And so right, exactly. So then
Wow.
when you take into the Egyptian mythology of that and you look at Anubis, Anubis is the god of lost souls, and he helps the lost souls find their path, find their light. So yeah, it's all very conducive to what it is that I do. I help people understand their journey. I help people understand their purpose, understand why the healing is what it is, why the trauma, the past, situations happen. And it's all so you can like develop this elixir to heal yourself, because we all have that
Yeah.
ability to heal ourselves, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, however. So
Big facts. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for everything you just said in that intro. So many synergies and alignments between your company and Journey to Self, which is absolutely why we were like, please be a part of this campaign. And so, keeping to the theme of our self love talk, can you share with us what you're actively doing for yourself as it relates to loving on yourself, what that may look like?
Yes. So on a consistent basis, I'm also a Reiki master. So I am, full on Reiki. That means I can certify people to be Reiki masters, and also I'm a Reiki practitioner. So that's something that I practice. So I do Reiki meditations on a daily basis. I make sure that I have, based on my astrology, what I have learned about myself is that I do better with a slow flow into my day. Waking up abruptly, having to be somewhere at a certain time, and
Right.
having to be told what to do, kind of thing, that just does not work with my natural energy. And honestly, I don't think that works for anybody. But definitely, Taurus risings, like, we need to have earth, we need to have nature, we need to have food, we need to have whatever it is that fills us up as our first start. And so that's what I make sure that I do on a daily basis, is that I actually stay open to receive, because I have a Taurus rising. So I'm Venus ruled, and
Mm.
Venus is all about receptivity. And so I am open to receive. I make sure I give to myself, because if I do not give to myself in the morning, I have nothing to give to anyone else. And I do that on a daily basis, as much as possible. Of course, with society and life, sometimes you just can't, actually do that. But for the most part, that's my goal, that I actually, follow. It's a ritual. I have developed these rituals that actually serve me before I'm actually serving anyone else. Um,
Ooh.
because also, yeah, because also when you look at the astrology, because I am Venus ruled, right? I have a Taurus rising, that would put Libra in my sixth house of daily habits, routines, and work and rituals. And also the sixth house is acts of service, right? The service that we provide to other people. And it just so happens that Venus rules that sector of my chart also. So both areas, it's like in my daily habits, I need to be open to receive. I need to be given to myself in order to fully show up for other people. And so at first, growing up, they tell you that you're supposed to give and give and give. And it's like this
Yep.
martyr kind of energy that they want you to tap into, where you're sacrificing yourself, you're sacrificing your energy, your happiness, your time, all of
Right.
these sacrifices. And then at the end of the day, you have this amount of time to give back to yourself. And then there's no recharge, and then you're burnt out. So going through years of that burning out, I have developed a steady ritual for myself. That way I am functioning at my optimal ability to give, because the
Oh,
work that
so important.
comes with what I do, it takes a lot of giving. So I have to give just
Right.
as much back.
Wow, that spoke volumes to me on a very personal level.
Mhm.
Because where I am in my journey right now, I'm learning how to pull back, how to say no, how to set boundaries, right? So that
That's a
I
big one.
can give myself the love and the attention that I need. And so this self-love campaign is right on time. I'm like eager to share the knowledge with the communities, but also very eager to take in the knowledge and the advice that I'm also picking up on from these conversations.
Yeah.
And right. And so I think it's so important that we continue just as a community to have these open conversations, because so many people are struggling right now. And they're often hearing, oh, it's because you're not loving on yourself or you're not putting yourself first. But we haven't actually said what we can do to
What does that look like?
actively right achieve that self-love. And
Mhm.
during some of your talks earlier, you mentioned astrology. So can you tell us what your definition of astrology is, and a little bit more about your relationship and connection to it?
Yes. Okay. So first, what it is, I'm just going to give my own personal interpretation.
Right.
Um, so you have different types of charts, you have different types of astrology, and I believe that all types of astrology are valid.
Mm.
So we have Vedic astrology, you have Western, you have traditional, you have modern, you have medical astrology, you have Hellenistic, you have all these different. I can keep going. There's so many
Right.
different types of astrology, and I feel that they're all valid because they all speak to a certain part of the person. Astrology basically is where it's a spiritual connection to the universe, right? So you have all of your planets, you have your luminaries, which is the sun and moon. Those are only two luminaries in our solar system. And all of these planets, they impact our universe. They impact the earth. They impact us. You'll see when the full moon is here, the tide is high. So they are all impacting us in however they are. And each planet has a characteristic, it has like a different flavor to it, right? And
Right.
so astrology is more than your sun sign, and astrology is more than a horoscope, right? And
Mm.
so that's what we have been taught, and that's what we have been fed all this time, is that, oh, because you are a Libra or because you're a Gemini, you act this way. And it's like, not really, not so much. There are different things. You'll hear people nowadays, because it's becoming more mainstream, they'll ask you, well, what's your sun, moon, and rising, or your
Right.
ascendant, or what's your big three? And that's because those are the top three that kind of shape your reality, right?
Right.
So when you get into it, like your sun, yes, it's your focus, it's your personality. But your rising is basically who you are. It's like
Mhm.
your perception and your outlook of the world. You think of a rising, you think of the horizon. So it's
Right.
like, you look out on the horizon, what do you see? And that sign tells you how you see the world, your actual lived experience, and how it's going to pan out for you. Then you have your moon, and it has so many different representations with the moon. And so it's like, that's your relationship with your mother. That's your ability to feel
Right.
safe. That's your
Oh,
comfort. That's, home and family. That's all of those different things, your emotional space. So how do you respond to the outside stimuli in the world on an
right.
emotional level, right? How do you process those subconscious motivations on an emotional level? That's the moon energy. So you take all of that, and it's like, that's just barely touching the iceberg, because
Right.
the three that I spoke about, right? You didn't talk
Wow.
about, the different planets that might be in those signs, right? Or
Mhm.
the different aspects, which is basically the degree points between this planet and that planet. That means they're having a conversation. That means that they're doing something. And then those
Right.
other areas in your chart. So it gets really intricate, it gets really detailed. And so you are way more than your sun sign. I don't really, I'm not against pop astrology, where it's just like,
Yeah.
fun stuff. I'm not against it. Yeah, it's fun, it's funny, and some things are very true. But also, I feel like my approach to astrology is more on a psychological level, to where you can actually utilize it on a medical level, right? Because there is medical astrology, so you can use it for that. So um, my definition is, it's a spiritual way to understand who it is you are, who it is that you are. It's your blueprint to the contract that you sign to come into this life and live out
Right.
whatever it is. And it tells you kind of like the mapping of that.
I love it. I am so obsessed with this whole concept of being able to discover myself through the study of astrology. I am still very new at it. And so, if we have any viewers who are more so like me, like starting to somewhat get this basic understanding of astrology, how would you say they could use this tool to like improve the relationship they have with themselves and the relationship they have with others?
Okay. Oh, that's really great.
Yeah.
So, first, how to improve the relationship with yourself with the use of astrology. First, you need to understand, um, get your natal chart, right? Your natal chart is that blueprint that I spoke about. So, basically, when you were born, you have a place that you were born, a date that you were born, and a time that you were born.
Right.
And at all of those things, when they come together, it's like taking a snapshot of the universe, the sky, and where all the planets were and all the different signs, and it will tell you exactly, all those different energies, the characteristics, the
Right.
personality, the conversations that the planets are having. So I would say, start off with your natal chart. If you can understand it, then, work through it, understand it, gain your understanding through that. If you cannot, reach out to an astrologer that can actually speak to you, because
Mhm.
not every astrologer is meant for everybody, right? So there are
Right.
astrologers that can speak directly to your soul. And
Right.
I would say, make sure you are using your intuition, make sure you are using your gut, your gut response to say, okay, I feel connected to this person can speak directly to me. um,
Right.
so that's where I would say start off. And I believe you said the other question. What was the other part?
Improving relationships with others too. Yep.
Oh, so understanding yourself, that's the first thing, right?
Right.
The focus is always you. It's never about the other person. The
Mhm.
people that we encounter in this life are simply mirrors of who it is that we are and the things that we need to address and work on. So
Right.
once you have that understanding and you have your natal chart, you'll be able to say, okay, turning that external dialogue internally, like, what is this for me? What does this mean for me? What is this experience that I am having right now with this person trying to teach me?
Mhm.
Where's the growth that's supposed to happen here? And you can actually just kind of guide yourself into that inner knowing, and then it will manifest externally, right? Because the inner
Right.
reality creates the outer form, right? So once
Yes.
you have an understanding of your inner reality and you understand your triggers, you understand your traumas, you understand your insecurities, because that's all there, you
Right.
know, in your chart, then you'll be able to say, okay, I understand that this situation that I'm having with this mirror, right? This person
Hmm.
is only speaking to this insecurity that I have yet unaddressed, right? I have,
Mm.
maybe I thought that it was, done, or maybe I thought that
Right.
I'm over it, but healing is not linear. Healing is very cyclical. It keeps coming
Yep.
back around. It's even layered, right? Within those cycles, there's layers to those cycles. So you think that you've addressed one thing, and then it's like, oh, wait, let's go deep. Oh, wait,
Right.
okay, we got there,
There's
let's go
more.
deeper. There's more, right? So a continuous excavation of those things.
Hmm.
And this healing journey is never ending, right? No matter what we say, there's no end date of this quote unquote healing. It's just a continuous
Right.
evolution. So once you understand that it's never about the other person, if that
Mm.
person is triggering something, then you can always turn it back to yourself. And that's another way of keeping your power, because it's always
Right.
when we say, oh, they made me feel. No, no one made you feel anything. You chose that feeling because you have that
Exactly.
power. They
Mm.
made me feel like, or I was triggered by you because you did, or, all those things, or
Exactly.
even on a positive level, when you say, oh, I love this person, or this person makes me feel good. No, that person is just reflecting the feeling that you have about yourself.
Right. All of
That's it.
that. Oh my gosh. So I was actually having a conversation with my daughter. This was probably about a few days ago. She was doing this little moon phase assignment. And so
Mm,
I told her, I was like, look, this is right on time because I'm actually going to be going into a journey interview and I'll be talking about the moon, how it possibly like affects our emotions, our energy. I shared with her how sometimes when I'm feeling like not so great, I could be, I don't know, mean, depressed, like just going through a big emotional turmoil. I like to Google real quick, like where the moon is, how the different
mhm.
planets are interacting. So, can you talk a little bit about how the moon can actually have a direct effect on our emotions?
Yes, absolutely. So different phases of the moon, they also represent different things, right? So you have the full moon. The full moon is basically a culmination of the entire 28-day cycle of the moon phase. So you take into consideration what's happened in that 28 days, but also what you do, you take into account what has happened within the last 6 months, right?
Mm,
So when it's
wow.
a full moon, right? Because we have
Yeah.
a full moon every month. Sometimes we might have two, and that's once in a blue moon. That's where that phrase came from. And it's always a blue moon when we have two every month, or that month. But we take that moon, and it might be, just say, we had a full moon in Aries, right?
Right.
Had the full moon in Aries just recently because we had a new moon during Aries season, which was 6 months
Mm,
ago. Right. So at the new moon, it's a time to set new intentions. It's a time to, set your goals. And this is a new phase. This is something that's happening that is all new, because it's
right.
when the sun and the moon are together, and you can't see the moon during the,
Hmm.
right? And it's like, oh, where's the moon at? It's because it's a new moon, right? We're in a new
Right.
moon cycle. So during that time, you think about, even going back to the beginning of time, everything was created from nothing, right? The absolution
Right.
is, everything is created. So where there is nothing, that's where something comes from. That's where something is birthed,
Mm,
from the darkness that all the light comes out of, right?
yes.
So during that new moon phase where there's nothing, that's where you set your intentions. And a lot of the times, we are very introspective. We are very, kind of like searching within with what it is that we desire, what it is that we want, where it is that we're going, our journeys, our path during that new moon cycle. And then, also you take into account what sign it might be in, right?
Mm,
So we had this full moon in Aries, and then you look at, okay, it was conjunct Chiron, so it was triggering a lot of wounds. Then you see, okay, what house is it in my chart? Oh, okay, it's affecting this area of my life. Oh, that makes sense. So you can understand why you might feel certain things. And then also you have like your waning moon, your waxing moon, and that tells you if you're supposed to be releasing or, inviting something new or resting. If you're, a woman, even our moon cycles, right? As our cycles go on,
Right.
our menstrual cycles, there are, in according to the moon. So we track them with the moon as well. So, if you're having like a white moon cycle, being, that you're actually menstruating on the full moon, then that means that you're supposed to be doing something externally, or, there are different things, and you can feel that energy. You might even feel more energetic during certain times. And that's because, of course, the moon, it always aspects certain things in your individual chart. So
Mm.
for me, I have Aries in my 12th house, and we had this full moon in Aries. And so the full moon happened in my 12th house. Okay, well, what is the 12th house? The 12th house is, things that are hidden. It's, healing. It's our subconscious. It's,
Okay.
creativity. It's, self-sabotaging behavior. So when you have a full moon, it's illuminating, right? It's shining. It's being
Wow.
illuminated by the Libra sun, right? Because we're in Libra season. So
Yeah.
that from that Libra energy. So my sixth house, which is also a healing house, is my routines, it's my work, it's being illuminated into my 12th house, which is where it needs to be healing, what needs to be let go, because so the 12th house is also about endings and things dissolving. So that's how you can see, okay, well, this is why I'm feeling this way, because I'm holding on to something that is not working anymore. And so that's how you can use that on a consistent basis.
Yes, see, all of this ties
Mhm.
so interestingly into self-love because depending on your birth chart, right?
Mhm.
And the moon placements and all of these factors, it can let you know why you may need to go a little bit harder on your self-care, be a little bit more
Mhm.
dedicated to those self-love routines. So
Mhm.
I personally believe that the key to loving ourselves is accepting ourselves, right? You have to get to this understanding and then you have to start accepting. So, a
Mhm.
lot of people are actually struggling right now with self discovery. And
Mhm.
J2S is very committed to like helping people achieve this
Mhm.
whole concept of self discovery. So, how do you recommend we use astrology to actually understand who we are, but also get to that accepting stage?
Mm. That one. So understanding who we are first and foremost, like I said, get with your natal chart, get with an astrologer, and they will actually help you understand. And if you want to start diving into learning astrology, just so you can understand, how to read your own chart, there are like quick tips and quick tools and things like that. I know I have like a free PDF document on my website that you can like go through, and they'll tell you, okay, well, this planet means this house means this, and whatnot. So it's like a start, but um, that's one way, right? So once you have that understanding of your patterns, and who it is that you are, but um, what was the other question? I had a
The
really good point for
accepting
that.
piece. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the acceptance. Oh goodness. So this is like a never-ending journey, right?
Right.
Because self-acceptance is all about getting through those layers of who it is that you are, right? It's
Mm.
like, okay, I understand that I have this feeling of guilt or this feeling of shame, or I have this insecurity about this thing. Once you understand where the root of that was caused, then you can say, okay, well, I understand that this was caused during a certain time, and I have this type of behavior because it's a defense mechanism or it's a trauma response. And once you
Mhm.
have that understanding, you can say, okay, tap into yourself. You can say, okay, I understand that, once upon a time, this behavior was necessary, but it is no longer my reality. I am not
Mm.
there anymore. And you accept it. You say, thank you. You say thank you to yourself in that
Right.
moment, that past part of yourself. Thank you for everything, but you are no longer needed. I am
Mm.
safe. I am whole, I am secure, and then you can release it. And it's not about demonizing yourself, right? For having
Right.
those behaviors that you don't necessarily find favorable, right? It's also
Exactly.
accepting it. It's like, okay, I know. that I do this thing because I have issues with control because once upon a time I had no control, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
of this situation or this thing, right? And so being able to say that situation is no longer my reality. I am safe. I feel secure with myself. I trust myself.
Exactly.
Trusting and acceptance kind of goes hand in hand. They're like cousins. So once you have that trust to actually trust yourself, trust your decision making, then you can move forward into that level of self acceptance. Like, okay, I trust that I can not only make these decisions, but I can actually accept myself because I am making better
Right.
decisions, because, I understand my past traumas and my past hurts.
So true. I know for me personally, I have to be very adamant about setting time aside, whether it's meditation, whether I'm working out, but
Mm-hmm,
I have to have that solo time to where I'm
mm-hmm,
doing exactly what you're saying. I'm being honest, with myself, even with the hard stuff, with the deep secrets, the personal secrets, being able
mm-hmm.
to say out loud the things I've experienced,
Right.
the reactions and the results of those experiences, and then being able to release it,
Mm-hmm,
on a continuous basis. Like doing it one time didn't really work for me. I would see stuff pop back up and I'm like, wait, I thought I released this, but here I am again, controlling and feeling so angered if my schedule goes left when I had this set plan
mm-hmm,
it going one way. And so I realized, okay, Anikwa, you need to incorporate this on a more daily basis as
mm-hmm.
opposed to a one time,
Yeah,
option.
that accountability, right? So accountability goes
Exactly.
along with that also. Being
Exactly.
yourself accountable, and that's really huge. Not too many people can do that because we're in this world, and this society tells us that it has to be somebody else's fault, right?
Right.
Always
Right.
looking outward and never looking inward. So
So
now
true.
that you're shifting, you can actually hold yourself accountable and say, you know what? I created this experience. I am, yeah, not, this is not to say that there aren't situations where we're actual victims, right? Like, yeah, there are some
Right.
victimized situations, but a lot of the times we choose to stay in that victim mentality, that victimization. And so, because we're choosing to stay in those scenarios, we continue to repeat those same situations, but they're just happening in
Exactly.
different people, different
Mm.
environments, so on and so forth. And we're choosing that experience because it's familiar.
Right. So true. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but we kind of talked about it. So now I have to talk about it. But something that actually started my whole journey to self was actually that word victim that you just brought up. Even saying it a little bit, I noticed like, look, I wasn't so triggered, this time hearing it.
Good.
But a few years ago, I was having a conversation and someone literally said to me, you always like to play the victim. And I was so triggered by that because I felt like I had spent a great portion of my life, especially my childhood, right?
Mhm.
Not being a victim, not showing the hurt and the different things I went through because I didn't want to be seen as a victim. And so to have someone say that to me, oh, I was mad. I was so upset. I responded, through anger. And a little later that night, I started to really sit and reflect. And I'm like, wait, the fact that I'm still feeling this hurt as if all of these traumas are currently happening in this time and in this space,
Mhm.
I,
Mhm.
I am, somewhat being a victim to things that have already happened. Like, how do I let that go? Like, how do I let that be just a point and a moment in my past, or in my journey? And so that's when I started to dig a little bit deeper,
Mhm.
and learn more about like how to release, how to accept, take that
Yep.
accountability, and
Yep.
then release so that I could get my personal power back.
Mhm.
But okay, so I know I promised that I would not take up a whole lot of your time. So just one last question.
Okay.
Lately, every time I pick up my phone and I get on social media, I'm always seeing these zodiac predictions, right? Like,
Mhm.
because you're an earth sign, this is going to happen, or you may have recently went through this, same for air, fire, etc.
Mhm.
So how can we determine, especially those of us who are not too like self-aware, may not have that connection to their intuition, how can they determine like what they should listen to, maybe what they should avoid, not really pay too much attention to? I
Mhm.
guess what I'm trying to ask is what warnings or things should people consider whenever they see these types of predictions come across?
Um, I have a motto just saying, take what's for you and leave the rest. Right.
Mm,
If it
right.
resonates, then that was for you. It was a message for you. Now, we have this thing of like, okay, well, there's certain people that don't know what they're talking about, and you shouldn't listen to those people. And even then, a
Right.
message for you can come through from someone, right, that is not the ideal person to actually be speaking to you. And that goes the same way when it
Right.
comes to astrology, right? You can get a message from someone that is in a lower, quote unquote, lower position than you, and you'll be like, who are you to tell me? And that's ego, right? It's our
Mhm.
ego. Instead of just
Right.
remaining open to the message and not so focused on the person or the thing that is coming through from. So I always say, take what's for you and leave the rest. If it resonates, then cool. If it doesn't, it wasn't for you. There's no need to even think too hard about it. You don't even got to go deep into it. But I will always say that when you're choosing an astrologer, make sure that you are trying your best to tap into those subtle cues of, I don't really know about this, or I'm not really feeling this person, or if they can't really speak to you to where you understand what they're saying.
Right.
If an astrologer can talk to you in astrology, in the language of astrology, because astrology is not a belief system, I need to say that. Because people think that astrology is a belief, and it is not. It's not a
Right.
belief system. It is literally a language. It is a tool.
Yeah.
So, um, if someone can speak that language to you and you can understand it,
Right.
you should get more, information from them, get more connection from them. If someone is doing astrology and you're not quite understanding what they're saying, and it's really difficult to kind of take the message, then maybe
Right.
that's just not the person that can speak to you. It doesn't mean that they aren't good. It doesn't mean that they don't
Right.
know their stuff. It just means that that just might not be the person for you, because somewhere somebody really feels that that person is a great astrologer.
Very
Everybody
true.
has a different method. So that's what I would say about that.
Right. Wow. Thank you so, so much just for your insight, for your time. At J2S, we are so committed on enlightening our communities, but also empowering them to be connected to that voice and that inner map. So thank you so much for just highlighting that. And with that being said, can you share how someone can connect with you, maybe even book your services after viewing this video?
Sure. So everything is House of Chiron TX, right? So I say TX because I'm in Texas.
Yep.
So it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, all of that is House of Chiron TX. My website is www.houseofchirontx.org, not .com, it's .org. And so from there, you can find like my YouTube, you can find my blog, you can find my services, you can book on there. We have our candles are sold out right now, but they will be coming back. And those are Reiki infused candles. But I have Reiki services, I have astrology services, and I also have a membership. The membership is $33 per month. And so with that, you get readings, you get a Reiki session. So we meet twice a month for new moon intention setting. I look at your chart and tell you, hey, this is what's going on in your life. It's better for you to be setting intentions because this is the timing or the cycle for you, right? Because everything happens in cycles.
Right.
Sometimes we set these intentions and we're like, oh, well, this is what I want, right?
Right.
But you have to address this in order to get that.
That
And
makes
so
sense.
looking at your chart will tell you exactly where you are in your life and if it resonates and you move forward with that. But we do that once a month with the new moon intentions and then full moon Reiki. Then you get your readings, you get, discounts, and then there's like free documents and
Right.
things you kind of like look at to learn astrology. We have webinars and all kind of stuff on there, but that's the membership. But also I have individual services. So you have your natal chart, your solar return, which is like the birthday reading. And
Right.
year ahead. And then you have your lunar return, which gives you your month ahead focus. And then I have Reiki services. So you can find that all on my website. I
Okay.
also have a YouTube where I give a monthly forecast of all the energy coming for that month. Yes.
Okay.
So I have that that comes out every month. And then I do like all signs, all 12 signs within that. And I kind of like post just the individual signs. If you want to skip the general forecast, I post the individual signs halfway through the month. And then my YouTube, you can find me at House of Chiron or Gemini Jazz, or you can put all of it together, Gemini Jazz, House of Chiron, however. Um, and what else is there? I think that's it. Oh, and you can email me. You
Yep.
can email me at Jasmeen, so Jasmeen at houseofchirontx.org.
Perfect. And then I'm going to make sure I also tag those handles in the comment section so people can easily get to you as well. And
Yay.
thank you so, so much again, Jazz, for your time. And thank you to everyone who is watching. Please be sure to like, comment, reshare this interview so that all the love and all the knowledge can reach those it's intended to reach. And be sure to join me next week for a new self-love provoking interview. Thanks so much, y'all. Peace.